coming up on this edition of Southwest TV News. As many plan to gather with family and friends for celebration, you're reminded of the stricter rules now in place across Saskatchewan for impaired driving. Partners in Employment is a branch of the Saskatchewan Abilities Council, and with offices across the province, it offers assistance to clients seeking employment in a variety of fields. In recent weeks, the Swift Current branch expanded its programming by adding a community-hosted job search resource center. The countdown to Christmas is on, and as youth on your list are asking for computers and other electronic gadgets this year, Sask in Motion has released its 10th annual Active Toy Guide. Thanks for joining us here today. Well, if you're planning a night out on the town, RCMP are reminding you to have a designated driver. As many plan to gather with family and friends for celebration, you're reminded of the stricter rules now in place across Saskatchewan for impaired driving. As the term impaired includes alcohol, drugs, and marijuana.
The provincial legislation has come into effect with the seizing of vehicles and the length of time that vehicles are impounded for provincially, as opposed to the federal legislation. We encourage people to take advantage of the designated driver programs and use public transport, be that taxi or the bus systems that are in the community, to avoid putting themselves in a situation where they're faced with an impaired driving charge.
He goes on to explain that RCMP across the province have been trained to recognize all forms of impairment to further keep the roadways safe.
We've got standard field sobriety testing courses that members take. That's the first course to recognize it, and then from there they forward them or move on to the drug recognition of the DRE course, which is used to detect impaired driving. And if the officer who's taken that course feels that you're under the influence as a result of the test he administers, then we do a blood demand, and that blood is analyzed for the level of THC in your system.
By planning in advance and having a designated driver, you can help ensure everyone has a safe holiday season. Wishing you the best this holiday season and into the new year. For Mayor Dennis Perot, City Council, and staff of the City of Swift Current. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the management and staff of Chinook Refrigeration and Air Conditioning, serving Southwest Saskatchewan since 1976. Partners in Employment in Swift Current has added a new service to its lineup for job seekers. We find out more in this report. Partners in Employment is a branch of the Saskatchewan Abilities Council, and with offices across the province, it offers assistance to clients seeking employment in a variety of fields. In recent weeks, the Swift Current branch expanded its programming by adding a community-hosted job search resource center. Jackie Powell is the supervisor for Partners in Employment and explains how this new service will help those wanting to get into the workforce.
The clientele that we serve is anybody that's looking for job search assistance. So anybody that's disabilities or any sort of barrier and that kind of thing, but having the Community Resource Center just opens it up to having more individuals be more aware that we're here, and we have lots of connections to various employers in town, and we're also able to help individuals with resume editing and even just like helping create a resume too. Sometimes individuals are coming in that don't have that.
And since the new resource center was introduced, Powell and her team have seen 140 clients come through the door in November alone. A vast increase by those reaching out for help to find employment. Powell adds that Partners in Employment has a good working relationship with numerous employers in Swift Current and the surrounding area, with the lines of communication always open between the employer, client, and her office to ensure each work placement is the right fit for everyone.
A lot of the individuals that we serve, we're almost doing a pre-screening aspect of it. So when we make a recommendation to an employer, like we've done a lot of background work with the individual and can solidly recommend that this person would be very suited to the employer and their business. And we also get employers that call us and say, you know what, we've got an opening in this. Do you have anybody that would be suited to this type of work? And we've also had employers call us and say, you know what, we've got some a staff that's struggling. Can you provide some on the job support?
Partners in Employment has close to 80 clients now working in the community and welcomes other job seekers to drop by their office in the Chinook Centre at 240 Central Avenue North. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from David Anderson, Member of Parliament for Cypress Hills Grasslands. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the management and staff of Pinnacle Financial in Swift Current. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Gus, Louie, and George at the K Steakhouse and Motel. Book your Christmas party or New Year's celebration today.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the Dr. Noble Irwin Regional Healthcare Foundation, keeping healthcare strong in Southwest Saskatchewan.
Hi, my name's Nancy Lowry. I'm an oil painter from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I primarily concentrate in landscape painting, and I'm represented by Art Placement Art Gallery in Saskatoon. Mostly I work with oil. When I'm outside, I work with oil. In the winter, I do a lot of small studies in watercolor for my car because it's too cold to work outside. And I draw a lot. I'm constantly sketching. I just have a sketchbook in my pocket all the time for little studies. So sometimes I'll riff off one of those. And in my studio, I often paint very small, little 5x6 paintings. And those ones, I can do up to 10 of them in a day sometimes. And sometimes I'll continue to go back to one for 6 months and not finish it. Like, it's kind of this back and forth process. Color is a huge influence on my work. A lot of old abstract painters are huge influences on my work, and also a lot of landscape painters. And I read a lot, and I think a lot about just like dream psychology and mind spaces and different things. I do paint outside a lot, but when you're painting outside, you don't have control over like the wind, the changing of the light, the bugs, how much time you spend if a sudden storm runs in or whatever. So you have to roll with it, right? So like a lot of my things are rolling with it. Idea of many trails to me or many paths just feeds like, there's so many choices you can make in art making. And it's kind of like an endless inspiration that you can have. One thing I love about the landscape too is that trees are all so different and clouds are also different. They're constantly changing. So even if you do kind of make a mistake, you can almost like look 2 degrees to the left and find that exact branch on another tree and be like, okay, I'm just gonna maneuver that way. And I often do that. Well, I like to play with depth, and like obviously a painting is a 2-dimensional surface mostly, like depending on thickness, of course there's, but I like to see what you can push and pull with. And I always really want to work with the edges too. Like I don't want something just like a central thing in the canvas usually. I want to bring it all around. And that one I definitely did while I was in a deep woods. And so some of the things that I was trying to capture are way back there. And some of them are right close to you. So I'm always questioning and trying different ways, and I'm looking at how other artists tackle that same question. For me, the big jump when I connected with Art Placement, the commercial gallery, was, for one thing, was very validating. I had known that gallery since I was a child, and those, the people that have run that gallery are artists that I looked up to. they have work in this show. It validates you to collectors. It puts you to a new audience. They've sold work to mine to different private collections and things that I would never have had access to. Having a validating gallery that is reputed, which both Slate and Art Placement are outside of the province. If you tell someone in another gallery in Toronto or Vancouver or something, that's where you show, you're already accredited to some degree.
With only a few shopping days left until Christmas, Sask in Motion has a few ideas for active toys. The countdown to Christmas is on, and as youth on your list are asking for computers and other electronic gadgets this year, Sask in Motion has released its 10th annual Active Toy Guide. The online guide is filled with a range of ideas to get the whole family active, indoors and out, while offering suggestions for stocking stuffers, along with other toys and games. Timely incentives to incorporate more physical activity, as stats continue to show the sedentary lifestyle that many youth lead today.
What we know is that on average, kids are spending 7 to 8 hours a day on screen. So that's a lot of time, and screen time is actually one of the biggest barriers to getting kids active these days. But we think there's really an easy solution, and that is that if kids get 30 minutes of physical activity at home, 30 minutes at school, and 30 minutes in the community, they're getting their 60 to 90 minutes of physical activity most days.
A good starting point is to swap out 20 minutes of screen time for 30 minutes of active time each day, and increase this ratio each day. And the more it becomes a family activity, the better for everyone. More active gift ideas can be found online at saskinmotion.ca. Well, this brings to a close another episode of Southwest TV News, reporting the stories that matter to you. We always welcome your news tips. You can always reach us here by phone at our studio or by email to contact us at southwesttvnews.com. Also, be sure to join us daily online for the latest news from across Southwest Saskatchewan and so much more at southwesttvnews.com. And be sure to follow us on a range of social media. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Carol Andrews.